Hey guys, welcome back to our the Nintendo Game University, and today we're going to review two games today. We're going to review Pokemon Black and White, as well, I guess it would be one game, and Pokemon. Shut up, shut up, and Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. So we've separated this into two scores, so this really shouldn't take that long. But so first, we're going to provide a little bit of background on more of the development of the game. So when Generation 5 was in development, a lot of people questioned it because most generations only take up one console, or sorry, only one console only has one generation. For example, Game Boy Advance had the third, Game Boy Color had the second, and Game Boy, the original, had the first generation. And the fourth generation had the DS. So a lot of people were suspicious when they thought the DS had a second generation. So there was a question just how improved it could be. And it improved in some areas, certainly, but did it improve enough? Let's see. So Black and White, of course, take place in the Unova region. And basically, it's pretty much the same thing, going around the world and going around the region exploring. One of the big differences, however, is that Black and White was intended to be a reboot of the Pokemon series, so none of the original Pokemon return, or at least in the main story. So no Pokemon from generations 1, 2, 3, or 4 return. Their excuse for this was, well, it's a really far away region, which really means, well, they tried to reboot the Pokemon series. But so today we're going to talk about it a little bit. So Pokemon Black and White, of course, the antagonists are Team Plasma, and Team Plasma pretty much questions if trainers should even have Pokemon at all. Should they keep Pokemon in Pokeballs, or should they be free from their trainers? And kind of. Yeah, I guess you could do that. But basically, so Team Plasma wants to, I guess, free Pokemon from their trainers. So, and it kind of makes you question: are Pokemon the slaves of trainers? And it kind of brings up a thoughtful thing, and that's kind of why I like the Gen 5 antagonist, Team Plasma. So let's dive into the rating of Pokemon Black and White. So, some of you may know, I base the rating off of 5 categories. First, we have the gameplay, graphics, length, sound, and difficulty. So, let's start. So, the sound, I'd give a 10 out of 10. Black and White soundtrack is amazing. Any words to say about it?
I'd probably agree. It has very good soundtrack.
And the thing that I like about it is that not many tracks used from the previous games are used in this one, so it's really cool, and I like how they kind of went original with it. Next thing is the gameplay, and the gameplay introduces some new ideas, like triple battles is one idea that they introduced, but the thing is that a lot of these features that they introduced aren't used enough. For example, you don't see a lot of triple battles, you might only see 1 or 2 of them throughout the whole game. And
rotation battles too.
exactly.
And Wonder Launcher.
Same thing with Wonder Launcher, and it kind of takes away from the game in a little bit because, you don't get to see these features enough. And so I kind of have to take off a point there, so I'm going to give the gameplay a 9 out of 10. So the graphics, of course, very good, but one of the complaints, again, this is sort of going back to the thing, is how revolutionary can this game be, being another generation on the same console as the fourth. And personally, again, I don't think there was a need for the 5th generation as much, but the graphics are kind of where my suspicion comes in. And the thing with the graphics is that, we could have seen these graphics earlier. They're not very revolutionary at all. Like Gen 4 was to Gen 3, or Gen 3 to 2, or 2 to 1. The graphics aren't that revolutionary, but I was expecting a little more from them. But then again, it was on the DS, so I'd have to give the graphics of Pokemon Black and White an 8 out of 10. So the length, there's actually a lot to do in Black and White when it comes to the main story. But the thing that Black and White suffers from is kind of what a lot of the first two games in the series, like Ruby Sapphire or Diamond and Pearl, suffer from, is in that there's not a lot to do after you beat the main story. So, yeah, it pretty much suffers from that. It did improve a lot when it came to Black 2 and White 2, which we'll discuss a little later. As for the difficulty of Pokemon Black and White, not too much difficulty. Again, standard Pokemon game. And really, with the difficulty, there's not too much to talk about. Towards the end of the game, it does start to get a little more difficult, but one of the things that I liked is that it pretty much forced you to use different Pokemon than you're used to using. So, instead of using maybe a Pokemon like a Crobat or something like that that you've used maybe in every game, you can't use that anymore. You're forced to use a totally different roster, which was pretty cool. So I'd give the difficulty. What?
Or you could use a Woobat.
Yeah, it doesn't compare to Crobat now. So I get the
I used a Woobat. It was pretty good.
not as good as Crobat. Difficulty, I'd give a 9 out of 10. So finally, when we add all these factors up, we get an 89, a B+. So any thoughts before we move on?
Not really. For me, anyway.
All right. So now we're going to move on to Black 2. Unfortunately, I only have Black 2 to show you. I don't have White 2, which kind of
I
sucks.
have White too.
Shut up.
I do.
So I don't have both. I had Black and White, but I didn't have I didn't have White 2. So Black and White 2 was very interesting because this was the first time that Pokemon was really doing a full-fledged sequel, and it kind of went to show that Pokemon can do a sequel. So the storyline is that Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 takes 2 years after Black and White, and pretty much there are a lot of returning characters, and it's kind of cool to see these characters return. Originally, I thought that maybe it wouldn't be so much. I didn't know how much of a sequel it would be. I thought it would be more of a remake like they've done before. But it was very interesting to see them go this route, and I really liked it. Now, one of the main themes of this game is that Plasma has kind of broken up into two groups, per se. There's kind of somewhat of the End side of Plasma and the Getsus side of Plasma. They're not really working together anymore, I guess you could say. And, I don't know, it takes a little bit away from Black 2 and White 2, but it also makes it a little bit more interesting to see the conflict between the two now. So, yeah, there's not much else to say. A lot of the returning characters, such as Bianca's kind of, I guess, still the Professor's helper, but you don't really meet the Professor in this game. Charon is the first gym leader, so a lot of the characters returned from the previous games, and that's something that I liked. So anything you guys want to add on?
No?
Alright.
How I think at all.
So the sound, let's move on to the review. Sound, I'd give it 10 out of 10 when it comes to the sound. The sound is very beautiful, even adds some new tracks, which I kind of was expecting it to use a lot of the old ones, and it does, but it also adds a few new ones, so I was really happy.
About the old ones is they didn't just take them from the black and white with mid, they remixed them.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I really liked seeing that. That was pretty cool. So I give the sound still a 10 out of 10. As for the gameplay is still very similar. Now, there aren't very many differences in gameplay, because of course it's really still the same generation, so I'm gonna give it default as the same pretty much for Black and White 2, as the same as Black and White, 9 out of 10. Graphics, still very similar. Now there were a few graphical enhancements. One of the scenes that is so beautiful and really brings out how much Black 2 and White 2 improved was the Kyurem scene, kind of at the end, and you'll see like Kyurem starts to transform. That scene kind of looks beautiful and really shows how much power the DS really had towards the end of its life, and that was pretty cool. So graphics, I'd still give about the same score, about an 8 out of 10. Now for Pokemon Black and White, I gave the length an 8.5 out of 10, but I'm going to have to improve the length here to a 10 out of 10. See, the problem with Black and White was that there wasn't really a lot to do in the aftergame. Difference here, there is tons to do in the aftergame. Oh my god, Jesus. You had the Pokemon World Tournament, which was a new feature that was introduced that was pretty amazing, and you got to face a lot of the old gym leaders and champions of previous regions, which was extremely fun.
And you can even battle Red as well.
Yeah, you can even battle Red. I was not expecting them to go that far with it, but okay. Not to mention, there's their standard legendary catching towards the end. And, the Pokemon World Tournament makes it easier, I guess, to play the after game. Not to mention, a lot of the areas, in Black 2 and White 2 that were in Black and White, you didn't get to explore them. You did go to Unova, but you didn't get to explore them, such as Striaton City. You didn't get to explore in the main story. So you get to go to a lot of those smaller areas that you didn't see before, but were in the original Black and White. So you can see how much they've changed in 2 years, which is pretty cool. So I really like the length. So let's move on to the difficulty. Now, the difficulty is sort of a special thing in this game. Now, one thing that a lot of fans have been requesting of the series is that they add something like a hard mode, and that they did. There is a hard mode in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. What?
Challenge mode.
Same thing. But it's kind of like a hard mode or a challenge mode. Very similar to the originals. Very similar to the originals, but a lot of the Pokemon are similar to the main story, but a lot of the Pokemon are kind of buffed up. And they get better Pokemon, better moves, things like that. And it kind of makes it a lot more fun to play through second time, just to see maybe how good you are at the game. And it does get harder, so I give the difficulty a 10 out of 10 if you do put challenge mode on. If you don't, it's still, I say, the same as Black and White, 9 out of 10. But I recommend after you beat the main story, turn challenge mode on. So 94 is the final score after we add all these numbers. So I'm going to give Black 2 and White 2 an A-. So before we go, do you guys have any more thoughts to add on to basically anything I've said so far?
I kind of have to go, so I'll just give my rating here. I give it 9 apples out of 10.
That's my review. Okay, wow. I'm happy to get that review. Love Pursuit, do you have anything to add on to our students?
No, I will just be the signed one in the corner.
She will be silent one in the quarter. But, so yeah, that covers our review of Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 and Pokemon Black and White. So, yeah, we, with Fargo Gaming, the professor here, I had...
Meow.
I had Love Pursuit. And I also have Music with Sprites here, so we're sorry that we really didn't have a lot of uploads in the past few weeks, but that's, again, not having a lot of time to see each other. It's not your fault. Go away.
Yeah, Alex is just
But,
Anyway.
So we're hoping to get a little more consistent, and we're going to do things more like reviews, analysis, some more gameplay in there. So, definitely keep a watch for that, and stay subscribed. So, subscribe, like, comment, do whatever you want. So, see you guys next time for the Nintendo Gaming University. I'm Fargo Gaming, and I've had Music with Sprites and Lawful Pursuit. So we will see you guys next time.